What's up, guys? Feeding you information here. So I have 5G stock comparison. There are 5 stocks right now that, in my opinion, are probably on top or the most unique. 4 of them actually were called out by an article that I read, and that was Apple, Netflix, Qualcomm, and Skyworks Solutions. The one that I added was Verizon. So I'm going to be comparing them from ratio standpoint, so value, and then from a revenue percentage versus market cap, so basically growth. So anyways, I'm going to just get right into it. So we have first up Apple. The ratios are PE of 19.7, so that's price to earnings of 19.7, a PB, price to book ratio of 9.13, price to sales of 4.3, and a debt to equity of 0.84. Now, its price to earnings is lower than the average. Virtually everybody does know right now, especially when looking at the long-term perspective, that Apple is undervalued. Minus the price to book ratio, of course, I'd say it is a little bit high there, but that's only because the average is about a 5. But anyways, if we look at their revenue with $255.7 billion coming in annually, 14.4% growth in revenue. That's crazy for a yearly basis with a company already bringing in that much revenue, and it has 1.1 trillion market cap. So a few things I like to just call out with Apple. You have the iPhone, the most valuable item in an American's hands right now. The Apple Music service, which is actually growing, I believe, 8 times faster than Spotify. I read in an article last week. I also had a video on that. If I'm wrong about how many times, I apologize, but I believe it's 8. And in terms of growing, it's like how many people are actually doing the subscription versus a Spotify subscription, because right now Apple's charging, I believe, $10 or $11 monthly. And then in general, you have their services that's going to just continue to grow. And then you have their streaming, which Disney's launching a streaming, Amazon's launching a streaming, but in general, all these can be connected to the 5G. Then we have next up Netflix. So Netflix, they have a P of 152, PB of 32, PS 10, and debt to equity 1.85. Clearly overvalued. We all know this. No one really cares because it's a more growth investor that is thinking of this. So you have a revenue of $13.9 billion, a percentage growth of 36%, and a market cap of $148 billion. 2 things that I would like to call out for this company is their streaming. Obviously, they were the first streaming giant, so a lot of people still love them and are favorable to them and don't really plan to switch at all to any other streaming service. However, I do think a lot of people, including myself, obviously, is going to be interested to see what Disney has to offer, what Apple has to offer, what Amazon has to offer. Next up, I didn't finish it. They have a strong supporting fan base, so that was kind of number 2. 1 and 2 I kind of said together, sorry. And then you have for the third stock, Qualcomm. Now they have a PB of 4.08, price to rate. Oh, sorry, I'm screwing up. I wrote so much, I apologize. Price to earnings is non-applicable, so basically they're not having actual earnings. In a positive, like they're not having positive earnings right now is what I should basically say. And you can already tell over there by their revenue growth as to why. Their price to book ratio is 4.08, so under the 5. Price to sales 4.17, again under the 5. 0.66 debt to equity. I know for the average, by the way, the debt to equity, you want it to be 0.5, but it's only a little bit higher and smaller than these other 2 companies. Of course, it is smaller in market cap than these other 2 companies. But anyways, it has a $22.8 billion annual revenue, 1.2% growth, so very stunted growth, $94.5 billion in market cap. The biggest semiconductor company in the world at the moment. But the other thing I did want to point out too is that it does have the best 5G. I can't find the article as to what, but it has, I believe, a modem or something, and it's supposed to be the best run, most powerful 5G like processor. I wish I could find what was actually going on, but I just wanted to make this video and I forced it. I do that a lot, and I know I need to make better videos, so I apologize for that. But anyways, I'll just go ahead and move on to the 4th one. Skyworks Solutions. You have a PE of 17.55, a price to book ratio of 3.8, PS 4.18, and a debt to equity of 0, just like Facebook, man. That is great. That's really, really good. Just like Cirrus Logic too. So that's really good to have. 3.8 billion annual revenue. You have 9.8% growth, 15.6 billion market cap. So as you see, we're just kind of getting smaller and smaller as we're going down the list, and then Verizon has a bigger market cap. So when we get to that one. But anyways, two things I wanted to point out. I already pointed out that they have no debt. That was one. The other one, even though it has number one, says that they get most of their revenue from Apple, and that is kind of the case with Skyworks. That does scare me, but I know that they are going to be diversifying and definitely get out there because I've watched Jeremy's financial education channel for a while, and he has talked about them a lot. He's like informed me about them, and he does make some compelling points. They do a lot of things right, so it is definitely a stock that I'll be watching. Verizon, you have a price to earnings of 7.1, price to book ratio of 4.26, price to sales of 1.7, debt to equity of 2.03, very high. AT&T, they both seem to have very high debt to equities. But a low PE for Verizon and a low price to sales ratio, a sort of low price to book ratio. Revenue, they have 129.6 billion. They have a 4.9% growth annually for that revenue and a 222 billion market cap. Two things to note is that they have a 5G partnership with Apple and Google. With Google, it's like Google Fiber and stuff. With Apple, I'm not too sure, but I remember reading in an article they had a partnership going on. Once again, these are things that I should be making videos directly on, but I can't seem to find the articles now, and I'm just like, what the heck? One of the big phone companies, there's two big phone companies. Yes, we all know that Sprint and T-Mobile are about to merge, or I don't know if they're definitely, or if it's still in agreement or not, or if it's still in the process of figuring it out whether it's going to go through. But Verizon and AT&T are the big phone companies, so I think those two definitely will be the first with the 5G before all four of these, and the rest of them will just kind of find their own ways of getting a lot of the revenue in their own way instead of being the actual operator of the 5G network. Because they would leave that up to the phone companies more, in my opinion. But anyways, that's just a quick run through of these 5 companies. Which stock is your favorite? Which one do you think will do good in the 5G network world? It should be coming in the next year or two. I just did a video on that, actually, which was perfect. I was so glad to see that article. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Feed You Information, out.